Hello, guys. I'm Ronico Taylor, and today we have our host on today, Mike Fitzpatrick. Thank you for checking this episode out. If you haven't seen the first one, go check out our interview done like in the very beginning with Andy Fleming. He talked about his music career, his life, and what's new in his life. But now we're gonna give it a shot to Mike Fitzpatrick. I hope you guys enjoy, and I am your host, Ronico Taylor. Check out the rest of the episodes of the Tiger Granola Bar podcast, and it is currently 4:09, so let's get rolling. Yeehaw! Later, guys, and I'm not a cowboy, so I don't know the fuck I'm talking about this. Anyways, you have a good day, have a good night, have a good evening, whatever the hell Judge Truman said from the Truman Show. Later, Gators. My first question was, you and Andy are the leaders of Brother Trucker. I know, like, Andy told me the story back when we originally talked. What was your side of the story? Like, how did you guys form the band?
Oh, well, we were friends since we were little kids, and we were both kind of interested in music. And around junior high school, we both started playing guitars. Then in high school, we were in some different bands, and then sometimes both of us together, sometimes apart. And when we were in college, that's when we really kind of synced in to be in a band together. And it was like we were in a few different bands called, like, one was the Clyde and the Red Rubber Bone Band. One was Sigmund Freud and the Unconscious Surge. And then we were booked somewhere, and Andy just popped out the name Brother Trucker because that's our roommate at the time, Bill Rosner, who I think you probably know as well.
Yeah, of course.
He would always say, "Right on, Brother Trucker." So, and at that point, it was just me and Andy and some other guys. And then we kind of went our separate ways immediately after college. And then when I moved to Des Moines about a year or two after college, connected with Andy again, and then we restarted the band. Kind of started as an acoustic duo, and then gradually added and changed members to become what we are.
You kind of mentioned the band, like the band name at least. Like, what did you always like? Were you kind of just on board from the start, like on Brother Trucker? Since I imagine you're like 50, 6 years old, like parents' age.
Yeah, we'll go with the 50s.
But like, I assume you'd probably gotten over any hissy fit, like if you didn't like the name. Have you always liked the name Brother Trucker, or have you ever wanted to change it to something different?
I mean, it's sometimes it's an uncomfortable name, like when you're at a family function and people are like, "What's the name of your band?" and you say Brother Trucker. Sometimes it throws people. At least it did when I was younger, but now most people know about it anyway.
Why was it uncomfortable? Like my podcast name was Tired Granola Bar Podcast, so I'm kind of the king of that for the moment.
Well, just if you meet someone who's like, I don't know, like an in-law or something, you don't really know them, all of a sudden you're like Brother Trucker, and they're like, "What?" Just because it rhymes with the obvious.
Oh yeah, I just caught on to that. Okay.
Yeah.
What was music like when you were a kid? Like, have you always been to it?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, I liked. Before I played any instruments, I was really into the rock band Kiss, and then I kind of outgrew that. And then in around like 7th grade or so, I started listening to, which at that time was music that was older than I was. Yeah. Like the 60s kind of heavier rock, like Jimi Hendrix and stuff. Then I really got into like Neil Young and the Who, Beatles and stuff like that. But now, I listen to just about everything now.
What kind of style are you really into if you have like different tastes?
Well, I mean, the style we play is Americana or roots rock. So of course that's a favorite of mine, but I also listen to a lot of country, classical, blues, jazz, try to keep current and listen to some new stuff. It was Louis Armstrong who said there's really only 2 kinds of music.
That's kind of what Andy talked about when I mentioned, like, I like to kind of listen to a little bit of everything. Like, I don't really have, like, I mean, I like indie. That's probably, that would be, like, my main thing. But, like, Andy, when I last talked to him, he said that, like, he tries to keep a little bit up to date, kind of what you were saying as well. And, like, I like a little bit, and he likes a little bit of everything. Is that sort of what you're saying as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing, when we were kids, music wasn't as accessible as it is now. I mean, you can go online as a high school kid and basically hear anything that was ever recorded
I hear
from
it's
any time at
probably
all. So I mean, you have a lot more access to have a broader range of musical tastes and experience. So that's pretty cool.
were you in the era of like you had to go to a shop or like something? Because like I know I've been to the mall and like that was kind of like I've obviously known what it's like, but it was like a shock to see all these records and like it actually in place. I listened to like a record player for the first time in my life, like maybe less than a couple months ago, and it was just it was a whole different experience, and that was kind of what you probably had to grow up around.
Absolutely, absolutely. We would go to a record store, and it was, usually a record cost about what your allowance for the week was, at least when I was a teenager. So it'd be like read about whatever album you might want to get, and then you'd have to buy the whole album and listen to every song on it. But that's I mean that's a double-edged sword, because one of the one of the issues for music and musicians today is that even when we started out, in the 2000s and the late 90s, people were still buying, music on CDs. So bands, even smaller bands, like we were, could make money making music and selling CDs and stuff at the show, because you'd sell a CD, for $10, $15 a pop, compared to now with streaming. I think you get like 0.00395 cents per stream.
Yeah.
So like if you want to like if you stream something a million times, if you have rights to everything pertaining to that song, you get like maybe 5,000 at the most. So it's really changed. I mean, while the accessibility is great, it's really kind of changed things on the other side. And actually, kind of an interesting thing I was just reading about with Spotify and all the new music that people are putting out, that between 60 and 120,000 new songs come into Spotify and streaming services every day. So every year, I think there's like 40 million new songs that come out. I mean, it's really kind of changed the saturation of the market, where before, it's pretty rare to, I mean, I don't know what the numbers were like, but I know they weren't releasing 100,000 songs a day.
I also like kind of with like art with YouTube videos, you have to like you have to make it appealing to the to like the person, and so you can actually click it. That's the first step, I feel. But like that's also with music, even with CDs or like discs, or even like back then, like you couldn't just. I imagine you could still listen like slightly. Maybe they had like a record player or something, but like you had to make really good appealing art to like get them to actually okay, yeah, I'm gonna buy it or at least rent it or whatever that was.
Oh, absolutely. The album cover art was the coolest. People put a lot of thought into it, and that's another thing. That's different now. Is I mean, they still do art, but it's just at a much smaller scale, because it would be. And I know this makes me sound so old, but you come home with your record, and then you put it on the record player, and then you read the album cover while you listen to it. So sometimes they'd have liner notes that talked about who played on the album, or just all kinds of stuff. I guess things moved at a little slower pace then, because you would just sit and listen to music, and that would be what you focus on. It seems now a lot of times music is what's in the background or what accompanies whatever else you're doing, but it was more of a main focus, at least for me at that time it was.
Yeah, I've been trying it out, just kind of dabbling. Like I've made like two songs, and I've been curious, but like just jazzing in the back of my mind, and like if you do like even if you aren't taking it seriously, it can still be somewhat entertaining if you just want to mumble to yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd be interested in hearing what you're doing. What are you making music on? Did you play an instrument, or you do it on your computer? Or
I'm just recording off I'm like literally in the garage or my room, and I'm just like da da da, like kind of just humming to myself, and then kind of just off the brain. I have written like one song on YouTube, but that was just for fun, and then or I thought it sounded good, and then now I'm talking to my uncle about if he could like give me some background to like guitar or whatever.
oh, cool.
I have put like the melody all down that I know of.
That's fantastic. So, I knew your mom and dad, of course, and your dad when I was in college. He
And
was out of
Dad
college.
said
He was a
hi,
few
by the
years
way.
older than me. I tell both. Yeah, uh, but I think they're great people. But when I first moved to Des Moines, I my roommate for a little bit, and when your mom were first dating, I knew them. I knew them both well, and a lot of times I'd see them out and about, or we'd even go out together. I remember seeing them a lot at the Alpine. But anyway, in addition to hanging out with Bill Rosner and Andy a lot, and I was just wondering, do you hang out at all with like Gus and Henry Rosner?
Yeah, I talked with Gus. After having him on the show, me and Gus have been like, and his girl Claire, like we've been kind of just at least more like we've been at least like able to talk more because I have him on socials and stuff. So like that kind of like I don't want to say closer, but like we just been talking more. But yeah, me and Henry once in a while I'll say, hey man, text him and stuff. So yeah, we're not
That's
close, but like we're chill.
that's cool because they're both starting to get into music too, and
Yeah.
Henry came once and played on a set break we did, and then Gus has come out and played with us a couple times and even sat in with the band. So it's pretty cool to see music moving on to that next generation.
You're not on town. See my sweet Anna, I ain't slowing down. I was thirsting for something.
I want chicken on my lip, but never let it out of sight. My money's out of poker, but goddamn it, it's ripe. I need this moment more than ever. Oh, 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 oh. I've never taken regrets, and I'm making shake a little, but I need it more than anything now or ever. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, I
Um,
bet I had
but
Gus
yeah, I was going to
on.
say if you haven't, you should have them on as guests. But it sounds like you've already done that.
Yeah, I had Gus on maybe like in the summer, or like at least it released in like August or June, something like that. And I'm planning on maybe I talked with Henry, maybe having him on, sometime in May before my surgery or something like that. You were speaking on like new generation and whatnot, but like, what was like your first like experience with making music or like experiencing it? Like you kind of talked on experiencing it, but like just making it in general. Like when did you kind of come to that decision?
I mean, it evolved over time. I mean, that's another thing that's different. It's so easy now to record music. It used to be very complicated to do. The first time we went to the studio, we went to this place called, I think it was called Otho Studios. And it was up in kind of northwestern Iowa. Like if you're driving to Okoboji, maybe like maybe a little past Fort Dodge, kind of over that way. But it was like we drove all the way up there, and we only had enough money for one day, so we like recorded everything in one day. We got there as early as we could, stayed as late as we could, and it was this cool old studio. It was like built, I think, in the '60s or '70s, and had actually there were some like people from the '70s that you probably never even heard of that came and recorded there, but like the Doobie Brothers. The funny thing was when we got there, at the time there was this person named David Koresh, who you may not remember, but he was
I
like,
remember Andy mentioned him to me. Oh, there was
oh
like
yeah,
a
did he tell you that story?
yeah,
Yeah, he
how
was
he
like
was
some
like a
weird
prison or something,
religion.
and he like had some wicked tunes.
Yeah, yeah. So he had like he still had his tapes from when he recorded there, and so he was putting that together to release it to try to make some money off of the scandal there. And then he also had
Mhm.
like this big long letter framed on the wall from Charles Manson, which was a little creepy. But it's kind of interesting because the fact that he had the tapes, you know, it's I've been a few years back, I went and got a law degree, and as part of that, afterwards, you got to keep taking classes. So I've been focusing on music law classes and learning about the different copyright laws. And it's like because he had those recordings, he had the rights to use the recordings on, because your copyright's separated out into, you've got your lyrics, you've got your music, you've got the the recordings, the mechanicals. So there's all these different types of rights that you have to music. So in that case, since he had the tapes, he could do that, even though, if they were David Koresh's songs, David Koresh probably had the rights to use the music and the lyrics. But since he had the recordings, he was able to do that, which is kind of like, more current, Taylor Swift. That's why she recorded all her albums over again, is because for her first 6 albums, that record company had the rights to the master tapes, which meant that anytime someone would buy or listen to anything from Taylor Swift's first 6 albums, the company that owned those tapes would get some of the money. And that's why eventually she just re-recorded all of them with Taylor's version, so that she would be able to get the benefits of that money from she didn't like that contract, obviously.
Are you a Swiftie, or are you just using that as an example?
What's that?
I didn't know if you were a Swiftie or like.
I'm not. Yeah, I like Taylor. I don't know if I would call myself a Swiftie, but I mean, I like Taylor Swift and I respect her a lot. She's, she writes all her own material. She's a great guitar player, great singer. Seems like a really nice person. I mean, obviously, I don't know her.
Kind of moving on, like what was your childhood, or like what was like the era of like growing up? Like you stated how you got like kind of open with music as you were growing up, but like what was your folks like, and that kind of like I'll try to keep it limited, but you understand kind of what I'm asking.
Sure. I mean, I guess I came from a big family. I had kind of typical. My father died, so my mom remarried, and then he'd been remarried. So there were, a mix of half and step siblings, and altogether there were about 8 of us. And, we just, nobody really got into any serious trouble or anything. But back then, you just played games, and a lot of people in the family played music. So that was available. I mean, there was someone already had a guitar around when I wanted to start playing guitar. Before that, I played the drums. And then, we had pianos, I had a little keyboard. So music was readily available. And yeah, we'd either play out outside a lot, walk to school. It was a good time, because I think like one thing that's really missing from, I think when you go to school all day and then you walk home, gives you time to sort out your thoughts and get a little physical exercise before you go on to whatever you do next. So no, it was a pretty good childhood. I can't complain about that. It was a kind of a blue collar town, I guess you'd say. It's right on the Mississippi River.
Did you start playing to yourself, or like when did you start playing to the public, you think?
First time I played to the public was probably just at like parties and stuff, and then our first like gig I think was a bar called Mr. B's that we went to in college. You'd probably be at, or maybe even at the college we might have performed.
And you said you had like a couple, like maybe 8 siblings and a half or something like that. Like, did you all kind of live together, or was it like all you just kind of related by law, or how did that all go? Because like I'm an only child, so I've never had to deal with that.
I mean, I was kind of in the middle, so there was a span of probably maybe 15 or 16 years from the oldest to the youngest. So there was probably only one summer where all 8 of us lived together, but there's a lot of, the older ones would come and go. You haven't entered your 20s yet, but you might find that you go out on your own, and then, something will happen and you need to move back home for, for a few months or a year or something, then go back out again. So I had older sisters that did that, after they left. And then I had one step that was my age and another one that was younger. So, there were always kids around, but because of the age difference and the coming and going, it was pretty rare that we were all like there at the same time. And everybody got along pretty good, actually.
It was like the Brady Bunch, basically.
Yeah, kind of like the Brady Bunch.
I imagine that you've obviously hit that point in time where like you were kind of you were the older. Like, did you have any youngers?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have a younger brother who's a science teacher in Kentucky now, but we get along really good. We once saw a Bears game. I think that was this year, maybe the year before. But I see him probably about once a year. We get together. He's a good guy. Yeah.
Like nostalgia's been hitting me pretty hard. Did that happen to you? Maybe when you hit the mark of like you had to go out to college or something like with like and leave the little brother or what? I mean, I don't know what the exact order it was. You don't have to explain, but you get what I mean. Like, what was that like?
Like just leaving home for the first time. It
I
was,
get.
it was good. It was exciting. I mean, it was, uh, you're just ready to start your life and get on with it. It wasn't like a bad thing. I mean, I moved out and then moved back in and then moved out again, like a lot of kids do. But it's good to know that at least with my family, not everybody has that. But we have that safety net where you're encouraged to go out on your own, but you're always welcome back if you need to come back.
Remind me, if you will, like, what was meeting Andy like? I know you said that, like, in the past, you met my dad at the bar or something, and like, but like, what was Andy? Because you guys are like co leaders along with your like bandmates.
Yeah, well, we went to elementary school together, so we were in second grade together, and we just, I don't know, we hit it off pretty good. Probably because they seat us alphabetically, and I'm Fitzpatrick and he's Fleming. That's probably why we knew each other. There was a couple times, like for yearbook day, there was one time me and him switched names so that in the yearbook I show up as Andy Fleming and he shows up as Mike Fitzpatrick. That's kind of funny. But no, we were just friends in elementary school, and we also went to the same junior high and high school. So yeah, it feels like I've known him forever, and I know his family as well. We live not that far apart. We could walk over to each other's houses and kind of ran in the same circles. I mean, we had our own friends, but we had a lot of friends that we shared as well.
Yeah. Did you like bond over music, or was that not until like middle school? I assume you said.
I'd say probably more in middle school. Yeah. When we were in elementary, I remember basketball. Well, actually, we were into the Blues Brothers in elementary school as well. We did a talent show thing where we lip sync to the old Blues Brothers songs.
Do you have any way of like personally producing your songs, or like how do you like? You said you have different styles.
Well, our newest album is a live album. It's actually available on vinyl. We were talking about vinyl earlier and how distributing music. Of course, it's on streaming, and we also did some CDs, even though not a lot of people buy them anymore. But we did sell all of them, so that's good. And then some vinyl. And the fun thing about that was it sounds a lot more like Brother Trucker, I think, than our previous releases because it's just us playing live and there's no extra people on it, and it's just what we sound like.
Yeah, kind of like what I was saying about the like listening to vinyl for the first time, like a record player and everything. It does honestly sound a little better. Like it doesn't have it just I can't explain it, but just it does have that quality to it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's definitely better quality than streaming or even CDs, and it goes back to like how even like when music used to be recorded, it used to be recorded on an actual tape, and then as the music, the volume increase and decrease, almost like pound that music, embed it into that tape, and then they would take that tape and then digitalize it or make it into vinyl so that there's a lot more like that you can actually feel in music that's recorded that way other than digital, because digital doesn't have that physical aspect that you get from like the tape that they used to make those old vinyl records from.
I want to bring back your album in just a minute, but like when I just thought of one thing when like I was talking with Andy, he mentioned like he was kind of bringing up this moment like when I think it was your guys' first time, like when kind of bringing to like the story, or, like bringing up the name, but he was saying like, but I said like we want to do this right, like and he was sick to his stomach and all this, like he was kind of second guessing himself. Were you like that as well, or how what was your like thought like how did you feel, or like what not in the beginning at least, like how did you feel when you first got on as Brother Trucker or whatever you were first playing as,
Yeah, I mean, you get a little nervous before you play, but that's just normal before you do anything. It wasn't like, oh, are we making a bad decision? It's just like, oh, I hope I don't mess up.
Well, what is your newest album? Like, what's the vibe of it? Does it have like a message, or is it just like guys just messing around?
Well, it's like I said, it's mostly new tracks, and we had new songs that we haven't recorded yet. And I'd say that the main aspect of it is it's just live and it's true to our sounding, more so than a studio album. We've never done an actual live album, so it's more of a feel of like what it's actually like to be at a Brother Trucker show.
One thing I really actually never asked the band is, but like, how do you come up with like an album? Like, at what's the point where you're like, hey guys, we should come up with something new, or like, do you just kind of build up songs and like say, hey, at least work together?
Well, it's a kind of an endeavor to do something like that. You have to plan it out. You got to have some money to put it all together. And in this case, the guys that own the Octopus, Dave, and then Ralph Bryant, and then some other people that work at the Octopus, they put it together. The idea of like, oh, let's do a live album with Brother Trucker. And so they kind of pushed us a little bit into that, which was a good thing. Yeah. So, and those guys are great.
If you don't want to, it's completely fine. But like, I remember my dad, he mentioned you were an adoptee. We might have talked about it last time, but what's the experience you've had with that? How did you guys come to the decision?
I mean, without getting into too many specific details, my wife and I are foster and adopted licensed parents, and we've had several kids in several different capacities staying with us. And it's been a good experience in the sense that I think it's kept us. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. It's kept us, more involved, I guess, with youth in the community. Yeah, exactly. Young. That's a good way to put it. Because we'll get a kid in here and learn about a lot of new things, and typically they just need a place to be where they're safe and they have a place to live and they need some support. Sometimes it's, forever. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they're able to, reunite with some family, and we just try to support them in any way we can.
Do you ever worry about like being attached? Because like I would probably worry about that. I mean, like I'm not a kid person, but if I was around someone, if for a while, I'd probably, we'd talk for a while and we hang out, like I imagine I'd get a little attached just slightly.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's totally heartbreaking all the time. Yeah, you get attached almost right away, and then the longer they stay, the harder it is.
What keeps you going? Just making sure they have a good place to stay, or why?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it for about 15 years. There's been a couple of times where we're like, I think we're done, but then you'll meet a kid and they need a home, and it's pretty hard to say no.
I believe don't you have a kid? Don't you have like a foster who's like in college now? Did have you kept a couple, right?
Oh yeah, but I don't really want to talk about specifics like that.
No, of course. I just was asking questions. That's all.
But yeah, absolutely.
Do you think you're gonna keep? Obviously, I'm not gonna push any more, but I'm just curious. Are you gonna like keep going on like down the line, or are you just gonna see where it kind of takes you?
Sure. I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, we have a kiddo right now, and so right now we just focus on that. But I will say this, since we're talking about the foster care system, over the past 15 years, a lot has changed, and it's because of the political leadership in the state. And one example of that is they just passed a new law that eliminates, they massage the words. They say it doesn't eliminate, but basically what it does is it eliminates training requirements for foster and adopted parents. Before someone becomes a foster parent, they take 30 hours of training, and then typically about every year, another 6 hours of training. And I think it's critical to the process because, every kid in the system has had some kind of traumatic experience, because they're foster kids. So they've suffered loss, whatever it is that got them to this place. They've been through a lot. They suffered loss. They've had a lot of trauma. So it's important that the people taking care of them have the proper training for that. And the fact that they just passed a bill that's going to allow people without training to start becoming foster parents, I do not see how that is going to be a good experience for anyone.
Was it originally you or your wife who came up with the idea?
It's both of us. We came to it together.
It was just a co-decision?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. It was cool talking to you. I don't think we really, like, other than maybe twice, I don't think we really had, like, a one-on-one, so I appreciate you agreeing to come on. I'm sorry about your folks and all that, so I understand completely why you didn't hit me up for a while.
Oh, yeah, and I know you've got a lot going on as well, so give my love to your parents, and I hope I see you, I hope I see you again soon.
Thank you guys for coming on to the Tiger No Bar podcast. I'm your host, Veronica Taylor. We record every Wednesday, or released, I guess. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys have a good day, and don't do drugs. Later.
Welcome home from China, Rick. This song is called Who Called the Cops? She got a silver chrome rhinestone, lighter on her dead as a breast bird. That present that girl ever has the figure with a thumb, waiting for a ride from both named Jimmy and his cousin named Clyde. Now you take a bag of hammers, you had a box of rice, and you can guess about the brains that the boys both got. Put them in a Chevy with a half a tank of gas. Bet your last dollar something bad'll happen fast. Mama's feeling desperate, she looks the other way. Got a lot to tell her, but she got no room to say it herself. No room, Mama. Cause the baby lies in danger. The lazy bus is hiding. There ain't no use in walking when two boys are gonna drive destinations unimportant. She only wants to go. Things she needs to decide is take it fast or take it slow. Baby's kinda fast, boys are kinda slow. Ain't nobody guessing where the story's about to go tonight. This is cow, corn from a trail. Call that conversation, someone's begging for some bail. Nobody hurt, nobody died, just a mama, mother, and a little inside. Oh, mama. Who called the cops? Who called the cops, mama? Who called the cops? Who called the cops, mama? Oh, yeah.